People, we have got to talk about why Bitcoin has been dumping recently. And some of you are going to be like, oh, it's Jerome Powell. He's screwing us over again. But it's not really Jerome Powell. There's a more direct reason. And if you guys been looking at the statistics for the ETFs, you would know. And it's because the GBTC outflows have skyrocketed. Now, the inflows have remained high, but like the GBTC outflows have literally reached all-time highs, even higher than right when the ETF launched. So they're selling that grayscale like crazy. Maybe this is left over from the Genesis dump or whatever. We don't really know because we don't really know when or if that Genesis stuff dumped. But there's a lot of news regarding the grayscale stuff. And it's really basically bringing the entire market down. If you look at this article here from CoinDesk, you will see that outflows of GBTC have hit all-time highs, and that's why we dipped slightly below 65K. So GBTC outflows are occurring due to high fees and ETF competition. Now, a lot of the GBTC flows are actually just going to BlackRock, but not all of it. So according to data compiled by BitMEX Research, basically the GBTC outflow was 643 million on March 18th, which is today. And it was pretty high, I think overall, like ending last week as well. So data investment from Farside shows that there's a net outflow from Bitcoin ETFs in general to the tune of $154 million. That's net outflow. If you take BlackRock, Fidelity, and then you basically like subtract it from GBTC, from 643 million, you get a general tune of 154 million net negative, and that's why we went down today so far. Now, I do think this is the same reason for Friday and why we dumped so much. There is definitely some profit taking, and the economic numbers definitely did not help, because I think when people see the economic numbers and when people start selling and we start dumping because of this, it's like a double whammy, and that's really what you do not want to see. So yes, I think when the BlackRock stuff overtakes the GBTC stuff, we'll start going up again. And it's very hard to predict when that will happen. Because obviously, like the high fees from Grayscale make people want to go into BlackRock and Fidelity, but I think one's almost selling spot, the other one's buying the other one's buying kind of like OTC, and there's a net negative 154. Remember, we sort of pumped a lot when there was a big net positive, like 500 million. Now there's a net negative of 154 million. Plus we have the bad sentiment with Jerome Powell and the FOMC meeting, which might bring the entire market down. So it's not a surprise right now that we are dumping down. Very good explanation for it. Direct sells from GBTC, and they have skyrocketed. Why have they skyrocketed? Like I said, I don't know. It could just be some like, remember they said the Genesis stuff and some of the other stuff was going to liquidate over time. Maybe they're starting to liquidate some of it. Like $643 million worth of outflows, I'm going to guess some of that's in there. But if it's the GBTC stuff, that tends to come in lumps or like chunks. And once that chunk is over, we should go back up. So it should be, after this week, a pretty easy bounce up back to maybe all-time highs. I still think like 60,000 is in the cards, but I'm not really sure if we're going to hit 60K or not. So use your own judgment. I think 60K is the bottom. Don't think we're going any further, but we could definitely just not reach that number. If you're waiting for exactly 60K, you may not get it. On to the Ethereum ETF. Fidelity has submitted a surprising new ETF amendment. I thought they were going to like back up some of their custody and all that stuff and change it to like mold it towards what the SEC wants. But no, they changed it. But it was kind of a surprising change to me, and I'm not exactly sure if I understand, or maybe I've been reading the Ethereum ETF wrong, and they're actually going to accept it. So they get an amendment. They just submitted today, and they actually want to add staking to the ETF proposal. Now, I'm not really sure how you would do staking on the ETF. That sounds kind of strange. Like, do you stake the ETF in a giant pool? What exactly do you do? So according to the filing, it would be possible to stake a portion of the fund's assets with the help of a trusted staking provider. So I guess like what you do is like when you buy the ETF, you say like you want to stake it, and then like I suppose the ETF or Fidelity or whoever basically stakes a portion of the Ethereum they hold for you at like Lido or something. Kind of strange. I mean, obviously Bitcoin doesn't have this because Bitcoin doesn't really have staking, but this would give you more options to make even more passive income with the ETF. So I think some people will be interested in this. I think they're trying to make like ETF buying very, very similar to just regular crypto buying. And this is one of the steps doing it because obviously they're charging a fee for the ETF and they want to provide all the services. And if Fidelity would actually get Ethereum staking, that would be a big step up. Now, I don't really know like if they're going to get this approved. A lot of analysts are saying it's more likely than not that they're going to get rejected this time. But it's very interesting that Fidelity would make such an amendment, which looks like it might actually hurt its chances of getting approved. Now, I'm just saying that like just from what I'm seeing. Maybe there's something going behind the scenes I don't know. That's very, very possible and indeed very probable if they're actually making this change. And I hope I'm right in assuming that, because I think if this fund wasn't likely to get passed, it'd be really weird for them to add something that makes it even less likely to get passed. So maybe the BlackRock and Fidelity funds have a better chance of getting passed than GBTC's funds. I think if the SEC reject Grayscale again, I do think they are going to sue the SEC. But this change is very, very surprising to me. Making like a provision that we know that the SEC has been against staking, and we know that it might actually make it harder for them to get this ETF passed. So maybe there is more, there's a lot more bullishness to the ETF getting passed than I thought, and I definitely hope that's the case. The SEC has been hit with another roundhouse kick to the face, and the judge has said they must reimburse DebtBox legal costs. Now, some of you are thinking, ooh, maybe they'll reimburse Ripple legal costs or the other legal costs. Not so fast. Remember, DebtBox was the case where they literally made stuff up in saying like DebtBox did a bunch of illegal stuff without any real evidence, and the judge found out later and he reprimanded. This is the only case where he actually directly reprimanded the lawyers of the SEC. And because they acted in such a manner, they have to pay the legal fees of DebtBox. And the judge actually condemned the SEC's handling of DebtBox. So this could be a new trend of really, really reeling the SEC in their crusade to sue the hell out of all crypto. Because if they start having to pay the legal fees, the SEC might be holding back. And of course, the SEC did ask for like $158 million more to rein in crypto. Maybe it's because they need the $158 million to pay other people's legal fees because they are being ridiculous. So in a rare rebuke, Judge Robert Shelby slammed the agency on Monday, calling its actions towards DebtBox a gross abuse of power, which it was, because they try to weasel their way out of it, but the judge is having none of it. Shelby penalized the agency and ordered it to cover DebtBox's legal fees stemming from the restraining order. And they should have to actually pay back all the damage they caused DebtBox too, because the restraining order was without reason because they provided bad or non-existent evidence for that restraining order. According to the lawsuit, the licenses supposedly entitled holders to profits from mining 11 different cryptocurrencies, but the SEC claims these tokens were never actually mined, raising questions about the legitimacy of the entire corporation. But they were actually mined, so the SEC did lie, and they admitted the mistakes, although they said their lawyers should not be sanctioned. Now, I don't think that the judge is going to fully sanction their lawyers, but if they pull this crap again, it is very, very likely that they will indeed sanction the lawyers. The SEC lawyers acknowledged mistakes, but pleaded with the judge to avoid formal punishment. But their enforcement chief had to acknowledge misrepresentations in the DebtBox case. And of course, this brings the critical eye on Gary Gensler's leadership. So he might become a much bigger political liability than asset. Even if Biden does end up winning the election again, they might replace him anyways. Now, the thing is, I think thinking that Gary Gensler's replacement will automatically be better than Gary Gensler is probably not a good bet. Because remember, we thought Jay Clayton's replacement, which was Gary Gensler, would be better than Jay Clayton. But surprise, he wasn't. So regardless of who's in office next time, I don't think you can really depend on the replacement to be better than Gary Gensler. We can hope, but we should not expect, because it disappointed us greatly last time to expect such things. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.